Good morning, guys. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Here we are with Tonio, Big Tonio, and small Simone Chiozzi. Now we speak about Final Rep. Tonio is the organizer of Final Rep. We are the organizer of Strength War, and now we speak about rules because lots of you spoke about with us. We made also a live with Tonio. You can check it on our YouTube channel Calisthenics Brain. We spoke about rules. I want only to specify what kind of rules we will have in Final Rep, because in Strength War, our judge, he is the boss, Simone Chiozzi, you know, wants only each pull-up should one athlete come here.
Athlete.
The rules are: during a pull-up, come here, one pull-up, you have to go over with the chin, so over, not here, but here, over the bar. Sei d'accordo, Simone? Do you agree with me?
In che lingua parlo?
In italiano.
No, io sì, sono d'accordo, ma più che altro per una questione che così facendo tutte le persone raggiungono la stessa posizione con il mento. E
So just a moment, I translate. Simone Chiozzi wants that people go over the bar with the chin in order to have the same method to judge. And in this way, you can do less weight because it's more difficult to go over the bar with the chin. What do you think, Tonio?
One question. The question behind this is either you want to have the exercise as difficult as possible, or you want to have a range between, okay, you can judge at a high quality and still move the most weight. The reason why we chose, for example, not to pass the chin, like your chin above like this, but only as the level of the bar here.
Try to do a pull up so we can see.
From the side
Dal lato, quindi andiamo a vedere anche. Vai, Fede.
Yeah, and now you can go back.
Strength War.
Yeah.
Final Rep.
Yes.
Okay,
And
try another.
The reason why we decided to do it like this way is that you have a lot of individual differences. For example, I'm the best example. If you look at my elbow, I have a
Hyperextension, yeah.
hyperextension,
yeah.
and hypoflexion. So for me, it is very, very hard to close the pull-up, for example, and there are several people that suffer from the same issue. And what we are doing right now is that we will add a picture,
Yeah.
which continues the line, like the top of the bar, because, and this is something some critics.
Yeah, but the problem is that I saw last time during Final Rep that lots of athletes want this parameter, and lots of guys write me, speak with Tonio about this kind of judgment.
Yeah, they want this kind of parameter because it is easier to judge, of course.
Yeah, it's clearly, I understand your point of view about the joint. For example, I have a problem with my elbow, a problem of mobility, but the parameters is not the same because
Yeah, of course, but it is like the same issue about talking about an ass to grass squat.
it's not possible to have the same parameters also for other like Strength War, for example. Is it possible? Because lots of people ask me about this. To clear.
For me, it is important that we have equal rules.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, like, results of competitions
Are
aren't
different.
comparable.
Yeah.
So the thing is that I understand the point and the opinion about bringing the chin fully over the bar, but in the end, it's about, like, this sport is focusing on moving as much weight as possible within a range of that is judgeable. For example,
But it's not judgeable if you see only the vertical move. It's not judgeable.
yeah, we are using, for example, a video proof. It's pretty simple. So
Yeah.
if the judge, we have one judge that is only at the same level of the bar, and then to make it better judgeable, you will have a you make it longer, so you have the same level of the bar.
But
move it
how
to
much
here.
the chin has to move up to the bar? Because let's do a pull up. Let's do.
Yeah.
Last year ho visto alcuni ragazzi, soprattutto i ragazzi italiani.
Last year, some guys arrive with the chin, show us here, other here.
Okay, but then
It's
it
totally
wouldn't be. But it wouldn't be like if you go for the pull up. This is not valid anyway. You know, you have to be at the same height. And if I now what I want to state here is to bring the chin forward is something that is highly individual. Like there are a lot of people that can do it way more easy than others without pulling higher, but just pulling closer to the bar. If you look, for example, at Pericol, he has like the shortest upper arm you can imagine. That's why if he locks his pull, it's a no-brainer for him to bring the
But
chin.
Pericol agree with the chin over the
Of
bar.
course he agrees because
Because
easy
it's
for him.
simple. But
It's
not.
like me agreeing that we kick out muscle ups because I'm good
But
at dips and squats.
don't you think that it's not correct to give the higher weight, for example, I don't remember adamantium, or was
112.5, I think?
yeah, the pull-up, the incorrect pull-up that lots of people spoke about this, this
but
problem.
I don't think that the problem
Baki,
with-
not adamantium. Baki,
with Baki,
sorry.
okay, I don't remember his pull-up.
Yeah.
But I think this is something that occurs often in different kind of competition. If you look at powerlifting,
No,
for
not the
example,
problem. Not the problem about judgment. For example, in strength work, we can do lots of mistakes. It's not that kind of problem. Everybody is a human. I speak only about the quality of judgment because it's more difficult if you see only the vertical move. Because the vertical move, you can go here, vertical. Here, vertical. You have to
But
judge
then what we-
distance between the bar and the chin.
Yeah, but this is something that we
How
want
can
to
you do?
improve. What
Eh.
we improve. Just imagine like you take one of those,
Yeah.
put it at the same level of the bar, and then you have like a green card here with a line here.
Okay.
And if people are within, of course, we are trying to improve also the rule book.
But it's not more simple, Tonio. And everybody is...
It's not more simple, but it's easier to judge then, and it still allows
no, to
use
clarify,
the
clarify
highest-
the movement. I understand your point of view. But, for example, we in strength work, I disagree with the total. You know, we speak about in live because a total for me is not the correct way to judge because coefficients are better. But you spoke with me.
different way.
Yeah.
better, a
You
different
spoke, you spoke with me and you analyzed with us results about strength work, about German competition, and about Spanish. I don't remember. And we saw that elite athletes has 51% and 49%. So the lower body was quite the same the upper body in elite athlete. The problem is with intermediate and in the open athlete. We saw, and there is the video when we speak, where we speak about this argument. But I'm for the coefficients because I'm sure you know that. I know your way of thinking about this argument. You think that people will train always the same, muscle up, squat, pull up, and dip. I think that in the future people won't train muscle up like squat because they gain more kilos. But we spoke about this argument, and I decided to this year to use the total in strength
I'm
work.
glad to hear this.
I know, but now I ask you, we can't judge with vertical move. I understand your point
But
of
this
view.
is, I would say, something to discuss, like to bring your judges into the whole round table of all judges, because in the end, for us, it's important to develop.
I know. That's why we do this video.
Sure, but I'm not the head judge of Final Rep,
No.
because I want to make it as fair as possible to anybody. And therefore, since I'm an athlete and an organizer, if I would
know.
also be the head judge, it would be a bit suspicious
I know.
Because we're all family. Huh?
I know. Because it's very important to discuss around the table, and so we can organize. What do you think? A live, maybe.
I would start to have an internal call with the judges, for example, your judges, the French guys,
of course,
from UK, whichever country will.
So it's possible to speak. You are open to.
Of course.
Perfect.
Because for us, it's important that the sport can develop further.
Also, we want that.
And the most important thing to me is, especially if we are talking about the rule book, to be as objective as possible without emotions. Because a lot of rule books in the past tend to base on philosophical questions and not about, for example, the pull-up. For me, it is pretty clear, but we discussed this in the past, what we are talking about now. For me, it is pretty clear that if I pull up, it's not a pull up and front.
I know you're.
And if you look at, for example, if you look at any sport, you limit the technique and what you judge as small as possible because you want to have those individuals. You want, for example, if you look at the dip, you will see a lot of different techniques. If you look at Valerio,
exactly. Let's speak about the dip. Come, Federico, you can have an efficient or an efficient strength or dip. Let's see and final rep dip. Quindi Simo, spiega, let's speak about the quality of dip in strength war. And then Antonio.
La cosa importante della strength war è che la testa dell'omero scende sotto l'altezza del gomito, mentre alla final
rep... So the head of the omerals has to go down?
No.
Not so?
Un po' più giù, poco più giù, Fede. Qui, it's okay.
Here it's okay in strength war. While in final rep?
A little bit lower.
Yeah. In final rep, it has to be lower because, in my opinion, you don't have to show it. I can do it if you want. Yeah, we are focusing on the elbow, like the upper part of the elbow, and your rear delt. Because, in my opinion, and this is something, it is easier to visualize, and also like the top of your humerus is like this is your front delt, and the top of the humerus is more like where you anticipate it to be. And this way it is like compared to the squat where you say, okay, your hips has to be lower than your knees. Yeah. You look from the side, but, and this is something that we have to keep in mind at any kind of judgment we do at competitions, there will be always this, you have individuals as judges. There are no machines. So therefore, if you look at any high-level powerlifting competition, there will be always people complaining about, oh, the squats were too deep, the squats were too high, whatever. So therefore, I think from if I look from this side, it is way easier for me to see whether the rear delt.
So for you, it's better to judge the dip with this kind of parameter.
It is easier. And
what do you think, Simone? Cosa pensi del dip così profondo?
Alla fine è così, cioè sicuramente una persona scende tanto, però è difficile anche valutare quando un ragazzo ha il deltoide posteriore davvero grosso.
But it's difficult to evaluate because lots of guys have posterior deltoid bigger, and so how can you judge this movement?
It's not.
Of course. But this is what I stated earlier. Rules can't be perfect and fair for everybody. You're aiming towards creating rules that don't benefit anybody, but in the end, it's sports, you know? For example, like I like to compare myself.
We are here to speak to improve streetlifting, not to judge final rep or to judge strength war. No, we are not fun. We are.
What I like to compare is if I want to have equal rules for everybody, it is not possible because everybody is individual. Everybody has. It is completely true that, for example, if you have a very, very muscular rear delt, you have to go deeper. But if you have very long legs, you are also fucked at squats. So you can't say, everybody has to squat like 50 centimeters and somebody has to go ass to grass, others don't. Yeah. Just imagine
it's different.
Just imagine
human
the
body.
NBA, or no, just imagine football. and everybody, depending on their body size, like how tall they are, they have to shoot at a different goal. You have, for example, Insigne, who's like this,
Yeah, also
like
NBA
a child,
and so
and
on.
he has to shoot on a way smaller target. just
Yeah,
because
we have
it's
to
smaller.
think about deep. If we need, we if it's important to go down because it's more difficult. It's more difficult, but we can think. We
it
can
is more
speak.
difficult. It's like pulling up and put your chin over the bar.
But clearly, it's better to judge the pull-up.
I'm
Guys,
not a judge.
right here, what do you think? Because we want to have your point of view. It's very important, and then we can organize a table to discuss, because the improvement is very, very, very important.
The problem I see, like I think most of the people in Italy are doing pull-ups, aren't they? No?
Not
so it's more like more towards chin-ups? Because like
Yeah, in
what-
strength war,
also
yeah.
a problem what we saw by putting the chin on the bar is just the risk of injury.
Yeah.
Because if you're very, very fast pulling and trying to bring it forward, it is not like still a controlled movement, you know?
Yeah.
Like you
We can,
emphasize
for example, we can do this kind of thing. See strength war rules, for example, this year, and watching the same athlete, the different weight they lift in pull-up or chin-up.
I would say, like, if you look at the rules, by pulling the chin above the bar or only above the bar like this, people who are, for those who it's easy to do it, they will do it anyway. Like if you look at Final Rep Worlds last year, you had a lot of guys doing chin fully over the bar without being it necessary, but they just do it because it's natural for them. But if you force everybody to do it, they don't have a benefit out of it, but people have a disadvantage, you know? And this is something that we always try to think about, okay, if I set up rules the following way, is it equal to everybody? Does somebody get a big advantage out of it? Does somebody get a big disadvantage
But they
out of
have
this?
big advantage if you don't put these parameters.
Yeah, but it's equal for everybody. And this
It's
is
equal, but the technique is different. So if I train, for example, I take Lucian, for example, Lucian, if I say to Lucian to arrive here, he can bring me, him, and go up.
But
It's not.
this is the goal of the sport. I want to have
No.
like I want to have it equally
No,
judged.
Tonio, if I do a goal with my hand like Maradona, in the future I put the VAR.
You will be one of the greatest.
Yeah, for that period, but not in the future. Do you know? That's why.
I'm not here to judge Maradona. Maybe you can, but,
Yeah,
but I have mad
maybe,
respect
maybe.
for Napoli.
Okay. And
I'm afraid of the
last thing, Tonio. Then we do this table. Then we
Yeah,
speak and so on. So Tonio wants to improve, like me, the street lifting. It's very important this kind of discussion and not other things. Last thing about the muscle up.
Yes.
Muscle up. Simone Chiozzi, a muscle up, he judged the quality of movement, and during a muscle up, the athlete can't do this, an L sit. You can go above the obstacle, the boxes, and then you can do you can do the L sit only after the transaction.
Yeah, I understand.
Perché semplicemente l'anno scorso ho visto che tantissimi ragazzi tendevano a enfatizzare molto questo movimento in partenza e
Last year, Simone Chiozzi watched lots of guys that with their hip did this kind of
capisco, è davvero difficile parametrarla questa
It's
cosa.
very difficult to
Yes.
watch it, to judge, because you know
Muscle up is like the hardest movement to judge, of course. And I think this is also a movement that needs like consistent updates about the rules, because you have to think about, okay, for example, if it's okay to interrupt you, for example, you have to think about what he's telling. If you do an L sit, you bring the weight up by pushing your legs upwards, but there is a difference between having the weight between your legs and pushing your hips back. And this is, I think, the most difficult thing to judge, because the one is kicking and the other one is just basically shifting your hips so your upper body can pass the bar easier. But this is something, in my opinion, that has to come with the experience of the judges. Because in the end, the more experienced the judges are, the better they...
What are parameters during final rep? What do you watch during a... What do you...
We will have to look at the rule, but like basically if we go step by step, first of all you have to have straight arms by leaving the box. So for example, Baki got his one muscle up invalid because he started like this, straightened the arm and then got back. Because for us, we were talking about keeping it as simple as possible for the judges. If the arm is straight, it is easy for the judge, okay, it is straight, you get the go signal. And if you start bending your arm, you initiate the movement, and that's it.
Okay.
Then you, of course, you are not allowed to kick.
But during the movement, the keep, you can do the keep during the movement in muscle up.
No.
Zero keep. No keep.
So what we allowed, and this is something that, for example, the guys from France are also discussing, is the placement of the weights.
Okay.
Because if you place the weights between your legs, it is harder to do a muscle up because you don't have like this momentum.
Yeah, of course.
But if you place it like in front of your legs, you can basically easier shift your hips back, and you can pass the bar better because the transition gets a bit easier. And the more weight you use...
So you are obliged in final rep to put the disc?
No, you can choose
you can
how
choose
you want to do it.
Both.
Because also here, the more weight you use, for example, if you look at Perre, you don't have to swing a lot, but it's just about the pure strength to pull up. So you benefit from putting the weight in front of your legs more the heavier you go. And therefore I say, if this makes the movement easier, but you have a 50 kilo plus muscle up, it's for me, it's no problem.
Very interesting this. So, Tonio.
One stupid, in my opinion, rule we have is if you lose the control of the weight. So I got my first muscle up invalid because I did a muscle up, but since my legs are not like straight but somehow of an O, it is very hard for me to control the weight, and the weight shifted between my legs.
I know.
And it was not...
So this is a very interesting topic to speak about. Guys, right here under the video, what do you think? Thank you, Tonio, to have this discussion with us. We want to improve, and we will see around the table what rules for the future we decided to have. See you guys.